My American dream has just experienced another setback. I have been given this document by the Embassy of the United States, Nairobi, Kenya, informing me that I am ineligible to travel to the United States of America. And they list there various reasons. That one of the strongest reasons they give is that I did not demonstrate that I will come back home after I go to the United States. And they tell me that I cannot appeal my decision, but I can reapply to go to the United States. And if I decided to reapply, I have to pay visa fees again. And after paying visa fees, I have to present new information apart from the one that I have presented. I think this is the last time I'm doing this experiment, and I have been frustrated beyond measure. I don't think I will ever again be motivated to go to the United States. Now, is it my first time to apply to go to the US? It's not my first time. I started applying a DV lottery way back in 2011, and this is 2026. I did not win the DV lottery, and even after using other means to go to the US, either as a student or a visitor, I have never managed to go to the US. Some people tried and they went. I tried, I never managed to go. And this is where I reach and I say, going to the United States of America is actually luck. It has nothing to do with hard work. If it's about hard work, I have worked hard to go to the US, but I have never managed to go. I'm still here. But some people applied. I have a friend who just tried once. He's called Geoffrey. Geoffrey, I know he's watching this video. He's called Geoffrey. He just tried once and he's now in Texas. I have another friend who just tried once. He's currently in Nevada. And I applied until Donald Trump suspended DV lottery. I can't now go with a DV lottery. Now I have to go using other means. And it has been even made strict for foreigners to go to the United States. So I will stay in my village longer than I expected, and I just have to be here. I cannot travel to the United States. Now, did I start thinking of going to the US right now? No, it's not the first time of thinking about going to the United States. I started thinking about this thing when I was in primary school. There are people in our village who went to the United States when we were still kids, and they were doing a lot of progress, more than people who were employed here. And I felt that the best way also to become very successful is to go to the United States. And somebody told me that work hard in school, and then you will reach a point, if you don't go with the lottery, you can go as a professional. And that is why I started studying very hard. As if you have watched my previous videos, I told you that I led in exams. I was the first in my primary school, and I went to high school, and I continued working very hard, and I chose healthcare because that time we knew the US was experiencing a significant shortage of healthcare workers. So I chose to become a healthcare provider. But I wanted to become a doctor when I was in Form 1, and I was passing exams. My fellow classmates can confirm that I used to lead the class. But as time went by, you realize that the grades cannot allow you to be admitted to university through the Joint Admission Board. So I checked any course that would allow me to go to the United States with ease. And I noticed that it is nursing, because there were so many reports about the significant shortage of nurses in the United States. So I went to study nursing. So when I started studying that course, I was continuing to apply for the DV lottery. That was way back in 2010. And I noticed that I was not getting successful at all. I was not succeeding because I wanted to study in the US, not in Kenya. So when I noticed that it was impossible to go to the US using the DV lottery, I became frustrated. And remember, by that time, some of my friends had already gone to the US. And I was still here. And they just applied once, twice, they went to the US. I was applying, I was becoming unsuccessful. So I told Dad, I cannot study nursing in the US through the DV lottery. So what do? He told me that you have good grades to study nursing locally. So I went to Masinde Muliro University to study nursing, hoping that if I finish, I will go to the US. So throughout my program, as I was studying nursing, I continued to apply for the DV lottery. Until today, I have never succeeded. So when I noticed that I was not succeeding, I tried other means to go to the United States. And one of the means was through university admission. And I applied for a course in, I don't want to mention the university. I don't know if it's okay to mention the university, but they looked at my transcripts and they said, this guy is good, so we can admit him. So they admitted me and they told me to prove that I can pay for the course, and I demonstrated that I could pay for the course. So I applied for the visa and I paid all the fees and I was given that red card. Okay? So when I noticed that I could not travel now, I tried to apply again. And to avoid making this video too long, I failed and failed and failed. And when I failed, did I decide that I will just get frustrated and do nothing? No. I thought of being employed locally, but now I was frustrated because locally nurses don't inspire me. And I'm not speaking this in bad faith. By the way, nurses msinichukulie vibaya, I'm not speaking in bad faith. Just go to any hospital and look at nurses who are working there. I'm speaking this in a very honest manner. Go to any hospital and look at nurses who are working there. They don't inspire any progress. So I looked at any other opportunity that I had to engage in before I could succeed to go to the US. And that time, freelance writing was big. Freelance writing was big. And my English was good. In fact, even in school, I performed very well in English. So I sought to use my English skills to succeed in freelance writing. So that is when I started freelance writing. And I did so well. And I was in Kakamega and I was making roughly $2,000 in a month at home. And that was way too much money. That is the salary of a doctor locally. Not even a nurse. You can pay like 3-4 nurses using that kind of money. So when I noticed that I could sustain $2,000, that is roughly 250,000 Kenya shillings every month, I said I'm not looking for employment. Let me earn this $2,000 as I try to apply to go to the US. I tried throughout that period. I failed. I could not manage to go. Yet some people are going, some people are winning DV lotteries. You see. So I reached a point and said, now let me just focus on my freelance writing. And then if there will be any other opportunity, I will go to the US. And I continued doing that and it was doing well. That is a story for another day. It reached a point I could make even up to $3,500 every month. That is roughly 400,000 Kenya shillings every month. And I asked myself, why are you living in town? Because that time I went to Nairobi and that's where I met friends who helped me now to know how to navigate this market, get clients and how to pitch, how to do this and that. And I asked myself, because I was spending a lot of time in the house. Then I asked myself, why are you earning all this money in the house in town? What are you doing in town? That is when I decided to come to my village. I don't live in the village because I have nothing to do. I live here because I could create income here. I came home and I invested in power backup. I invested in internet connection. I invested in everything that would make me earn well as a freelancer. So that is how I started staying in the village. I did not come to the village because life was tough. No. In fact, I came to the village because everything was doing well. But now come 2022, when the artificial intelligence came, I think that was the advent of ChatGPT, and they announced it and it took over our jobs and most of our tasks reduced significantly. I again started thinking of going to the US, and the process has just proved futile since 2022 up to 2026. And I'm paying these heavy visa fees, and you ask yourself, you are paying the embassy all this money and it's non-refundable, and you have to keep reapplying and paying the embassy. You see, then I looked at it and said, what do? I thought of going back to employment because now the only option, artificial intelligence has taken our jobs and there's nothing else you can do. So the only thing is to use your competence and skills that you learned in school to work. Okay? But I go to hospital and no nurse is inspiring me. No nurse is inspiring me, and no nurse has ever inspired me in Kenya because these guys appear like they are struggling. I'm speaking my honest truth. I'm not despising my profession. I love my profession. But when I look at nurses, the way they are struggling, they go on strike, their salaries are being delayed, they are underpaid. You know, the government is employing lowly qualified nurses because it is expensive for the government to pay highly qualified nurses or degree nurses. So it has to pay hands-on nurses, KMTC nurses. Those are diploma nurses. So I decided now what I should do is to look for another freelance job. I had done a lot of writing until that is the only thing that I had known for such a long time. So I met a friend who invited me to study forex trading. Now, forex trading is a very good thing because I will not talk much about it again, but he told me how to, because I had good capital that time, he helped me understand how to have, I have an account of 15,000 US dollars, and he helped me understand how to make roughly $30 every day, because it's mathematically possible to manage risk and to make that amount of money using such an account. So that is how I started doing forex trading and making roughly that amount per day. But in as much as it looks like it's a good thing for me, this thing is a gamble. You know, the markets are uncertain. Sometimes you look at it and you say, this thing, what is the fallback plan? You see, in Kenya, if you find a place where forex traders are the ones who are appearing to be doing well, better than doctors, it means that the economy has a problem. Because people who are supposed to be succeeding a lot are professionals. Like doctors should be saying they are earning a lot of money. Nurses should be saying that they are thriving. We need to see teachers doing well, engineers doing well. We need to see people with real skills doing well. But instead in Kenya, people who are bragging they are doing well, they are forex traders. People who sometimes they quit school, they did not go to school, they don't inspire you apart from telling you that I've bought a GLE. You know, these are people who are telling you that I've bought this and that. They did not go to school properly. Sometimes they cannot reason well. Their emotional intelligence is wanting. I listen to them in podcasts, and those guys have warped logic. They don't make sense sometimes in what they explain. Sometimes you look at them and you say, is this what I really want? Because you want to leave a lasting impact in your life. But again, you cannot do it as a forex trader. So I want a profession where I can leave this lasting impact. And my profession is nursing. And when I look at nurses, they are suffering. Now, can I go back to the clinical area? No. Because I can earn more than nurses who are in the clinical setting. Now, my dream of going to work as a nurse in the US, I have to tell you that it has failed and I am frustrated. But I will keep working on it. Now that they told me to reapply and they gave me a red card, I am going to reapply. But in the meantime, I will continue staying in my village, working on my online tasks and sharing some content with you guys about my journey and how I'm progressing. By the way, this is raw content. I'm sharing raw information about myself. I'm not editing anything. I'm not trying to fake anything. This is me. This is my real life, and I'm sharing it as it is. So I will keep sharing my life story here as I live here. And will I ever go to look for work in town? I don't think I will ever do it, because let's be honest, on average, if you can make about $30, that's roughly 4,000 shillings when you are in a village setup, that's quite decent. Because if you go to town and estimate the number of people who are making that, it's very low. And then the problem with the town is that it gives you the pressure. You want to show that I'm making this amount of money. You know, there are people there who are trying to compare themselves with one another. They are trying to show that we are doing this progress. They are buying expensive gifts. So they are giving you a lot of social media pressure. But when you are in your village like this, the only thing that can give you pressure is this maize, okay? This maize is the only thing that can give you pressure, and cassava and potatoes. After you have done your work and you have analyzed markets, you have made your roughly $30, $40, and you're okay. You don't need much, because I don't pay rent, I don't pay fare, I don't use a lot on fuel. I am just here, okay? And if I can manage that within this setting, I don't think it is bad. But it is not something that I recommend for people who don't want to stay within this setup, because staying in the village is for people who have grown up here, people who understand this setup. So if you have grown up in town and you love town and that is your setup, then well and good. So this is how we stay, and we should be interacting for you to understand how life is here, and I understand how life is there. And there are people sometimes who tell me, oh, Gidi, if you had a passion in nursing, you will be practicing. If you had a passion in nursing, you will be in hospital. My friend, passion does not pay bills. Passion can only fulfill your heart. If you had passion in nursing, you would not be going for strike. If you had passion in nursing, you would not be asking for salary increase or complaining about job promotions. When you go to school, you go to acquire skills. Skills that you believe are valuable to the marketplace. and you are coming to execute those skills for payment, for compensation. For example, when I was a writer, I had skills to write good papers. I knew how to write a paragraph very well, how to write a topic sentence, how to ensure proper argumentation in that paragraph, how to cite my sources, how to conclude my paragraph, how to present a professionally written paper. Now, when you do that, you are paid for your skills and competence. Now, when you go to study a course like nursing and medicine, you have gone to acquire skills and you have knowledge, and you are supposed to be paid, to be compensated well for your skills. Now, in an economy like Kenya, where some nurses are paid like $200, at that time we were paid $200 on contract, that the governor said he would pay us $200 on contract so that we will be absorbed later. Some of them were absorbed about 7 years later. So for 7 years, you are earning $200 because you have passion. You're struggling with bills. Your kids are having a very complicated life, you see. So if you find an opportunity that pays better, the way I found writing, you do it. And after you do it and you find that there is another gamble that pays better, like trading, you can still do that, okay? So go for where your efforts can be appreciated. And for me, I believed that my efforts could be appreciated well in the United States. I have tried going to the US because I have seen successful nurses in the US. I have tried going to that country. I have failed. So in the meantime, I will continue staying in my village here, doing my things, but it makes me very frustrated that some of the most successful people in this country are gamblers, people who are dealing with uncertain markets, not people who have gone to school properly, acquired skills, and they want to leave a lasting impact and make some innovations. Like the richest man in the world right now is Elon Musk, and we are seeing the innovations he's making in AI and SpaceX. That is what we want to see. We want to see your riches accompanied by value and progress, not your riches accompanied by bragging and destruction of the image of the country. You see, I don't think being a nurse in Kenya gives me a good opportunity to thrive. I would better be a nurse in the US. My dream has not failed. I will reapply again, and I will reapply until I'm 50. And if I fail, well and good. I will continue being here and I will die here because this is my soil. Thank you for listening to me. This is Gidia Kali, and we shall meet again in another one